And I want to just talk to you for just a minute about what this Sunday's all about. And man, when I tell you, one of the greatest, the Bible says, children are an heritage of the Lord. And teenagers, hang with me for a second, because I know I sort of just called you children there, which is a big mess up for a pastor to do. But one of the greatest assets of our church, the greatest hope for the future, is looking around this auditorium and seeing all these young faces in here. And I am excited about what God is doing in the lives of our teenagers. Last night was an incredible night. We had our fall bash last night, and I heard it went phenomenal. I wish I could have been here for some of it, for sure. I'm now officially that age where they're like, what are you doing in here? You don't have the credentials of, you have a wrinkle, which means get out. But there was a wonderful time had last night. And I don't mean just fun and exciting songs. How many of you, that opener, I mean, my mom's in here fresh off knee surgery. You okay, Mom? All right, that opener, man, I tell you, that'll put the new knee through its paces for sure. But I'll be honest with you. I love that they get excited and sing those songs. I'll tell you what I'm rejoicing about last night is the tears that were shed and the cries for help. And I want to get out of this sin that's just got me and that's holding me. I talked to Nathan this morning, our speaker today, and he said, man, I hope your church understands there's some people in this youth ministry that just want out. That Satan's already got a hold. And I was telling him, I said, you know, when we were kids, and when many of you were kids, the adults in this room, you really had to kind of go look for it. You really had to get in the wrong crowd and run with that crowd for some time before you got to some of the things that are happening like that now. It's on every phone. It's everywhere. It is inundated. I remember when I was a kid, if you wanted to get your hands on pornography, you were going to have to go to a gas station and ask for something that was behind the counter, and you had to ask someone else's mom to give it to you, and you had to act like you weren't as young as you were. Those days are gone. Now, when mom and dad excitingly give you an iPod, mom and dad don't realize they gave you unfettered access to pornography. And we were thinking about staying in touch with Junior, and we were thinking about the games that they can quit downloading on our phone. If we'll get them an iPod, they can get their own. And we don't realize Satan is ready to pounce. And so what's happened because of that is a few years later, they're in bondage. And I want you to know something. The teenagers of this youth group are really begging for some examples. And so we've got Nathan Smith here with us today. Nathan does an amazing work. He's the director of Journey Camp. Honestly, one of the most exciting camps I've ever seen. I was in youth ministry for 10 years in Arkansas. And is that good? I wanted to say it the way you wanted me to. He's fierce. He's the most athletic man I've ever seen in my life. These are all things he told me to say. I said, is there anything else you want me to add? He just went on and on about all that. But you'll get to know Nathan in just a second. I will say this. He didn't tell me to say this, but I will say this. He loves our teenagers. And he loves the teenagers of a lot of churches that come to the camp there. And he recognizes them. As teenagers were walking in this morning, he said, you know, she's athletic, that one there. That comes from having a heart for kids. He might not know all their names, but he knows that's that personality set. That's that one. God has given him a heart for the youth of this country and this area, and he is acting on that. And he's also giving them a view of the world. He's putting into them a heart for Africa. And so one of the things we can do today to help his ministry, you have a table back here with some T-shirts on it. And I think he told me if you buy a T-shirt for Africa, it feeds an African child for a month. And he's got a lot of missions over there. He sends people over there. Every year, they make a big deal about it at Journey Camp. They raise money at Journey Camp for the missions in Africa. So I want to make sure he doesn't feel like he has to petition our church. I want to do it for him right now. If you're here today, if you don't want the T-shirt, just go by and hand him money. That'll work too. But get you a T-shirt and make sure we're doing our part as a church. We'll take care of Nathan. We're giving him a love offering. We're already taking care of everything there. But we need you guys to bend over backwards to appreciate this man who has invested in our children, in our teenagers, and he's paid a heavy price to do so because I know Satan attacks that junk. And I don't even know the personal story, but I know this. Satan doesn't like what he's doing. And so Satan's been after him. So I want to do this. As Nathan comes this way, I want to have a word of prayer for him, and then we're going to get going, all right? Father, Lord, I love you. I thank you for Nathan. I thank you for his heart. I thank you for the ministry there. I pray that right now our church would just lay aside every single barrier, Lord. Someone that might say, I don't know this guy. If I'd have known there was a guest speaker, I'd have went to the lake. All those things, Lord. I pray that you would just take all that aside and say, Lord, this is a divine appointment. Fill this man with your power. May he know that what he thinks he should say is exactly what he should say. And give him unfettered access to us. And Lord, may we give our hearts to the man of God this morning that we could hear what you have for us. Lord, we all need the revival that our teenagers crave. In your name, amen.
Look, you got one. Hey, man, can I borrow your?
Yeah, you can.
I'm a big Bob Ritter fan. I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't do for Bob, nothing he wouldn't do for me. So far, we've done absolutely nothing for each other. But no, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It's a really huge honor to be here at Nebo. You guys have an amazing church, an amazing staff. Your teenagers are incredibly socially awkward, but I mean. It's great. It's so cool to be. I mean, I'm telling you, man. I've been thinking about this. We were talking last night. You guys have been coming to Journey Camp for like 6 years, which is a lot of years. I mean, that's like consecutive years. I don't know why you come back, but we really do. We have a great time. If you've never been to Journey Camp before, we're kind of known for this bungee cord that we stretch across this pond, and we hook to an inner tube, and we built this skateboard ramp, and it's like a slip and slide on the ramp, and if you're on the tube and we let go, you go down this hill off this ramp into the air, sometimes as high as maybe the ceiling, and a lot of kids meet Jesus right there in that moment. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, we actually had we've had some unbelievable years with your students. It's an honor, man, really a big honor to be here. I love Roger. He's so attractive, and he's, and, I mean, you guys just have an amazing team. I mean, what a great morning so far with the music too. I was really impressed by that. I got a wife. We've been married 20 years. We just celebrated 20 years of marriage. Yeah, I mean, you can clap. A lot of you guys got more than that, but she loves me. I don't even deserve it. Like, we celebrated our 20th anniversary. I figured since she'd been married to me for 20 years, I'd take her for 20 days to New Zealand. And we'd never been there. It's like one of those dream trips. You're like, maybe one day I'll go to Africa, or maybe one day I'll go to Australia. We're like, well, where should we go? We went to New Zealand. Unbelievable place. Really, really awesome. We got 2 little girls, Gracie and Sophie. Gracie's almost 18. She's about to be 18. I still remember, like, her first day of school. She came home. She's like, Dad, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, what am I not going to believe? You're in kindergarten. She said, Dad, today at school, Carson asked if he could be my boyfriend. I said, who the heck is Carson? I'm ready to go jack up some 5-year-old kid. I'm not scared. I'm like, who's that punk? She goes, Dad, don't worry. I told him no because you're my boyfriend. I was like, what's up now, Carson? Sophie's my firecracker. She's my little, she's 16 now. Just got her driver's license. But, man, that little one, she's just so much fun. She's always cracking jokes, and tuck her in for bed. She's like, Daddy. She said, Daddy, what did the baby volcano say to the daddy? What'd she say? The baby volcano. What did the baby volcano say to the daddy volcano? I said, I don't know what volcanoes say to each other. She said, I lava you, Daddy. I was like, shut up and go to bed. That's dumb. But yeah. She's mega awesome. She really wanted to come today and be here. She's got a little soccer thing she does, but Gracie's coming. She's on her way right now. But yeah, I wanted to challenge you guys and talk to you a little bit about Luke chapter 5. Is one of the passages in the Bible that really changed my life. Really spoke to me in a way that man. Scripture's all God-breathed and useful for teaching, correcting, rebuking, training in righteousness. But, Luke 5, man, really changed me. If you got a Bible or if you want to, you can turn on your phone or something like that, or or whatever you use. But in your pew right there, you got a couple Bibles if you want to use that, or if you just want to listen, no worries. We might throw the words up on the screen. But while you're turning there, I don't know how many of you guys are lake people. Isn't like Lake James pretty close to here? How many of you guys love the water? Would you just raise your hand if you like boats and like any fishermen out there? We got people that like to catch fish. Okay, so like I'm a big fan. Like if you get a chance to go on the water, I'm always going to take the chance. And my buddy had bought this boat. It's called a ski nautique, and it's like really expensive boat. Like rich people have them. And so he was like, dude, would you want to come out with us and break this boat in? And his name is Steve, but we call him Frog because he's always on the water. He's like on ESPN one time for all the wakeboarding tricks that he could do. And so I was like, I would just come to see him do his thing. Like, he's that good. And I was like, yeah, I just didn't really want to work anyway, so I left. And we picked me up at this dock. I got my trunks, and I met him at the dock, and it's me, Frog, this dude named Eric Rice. We call him Vanilla Rice because he's white. And this other dude named Chase, who's just this big old O-lineman, looked like he ate his whole family. He's just massive guy, just huge. And we're all on the boat together, and they're breaking it in. So Frog's like, I'm going first. Eric, you drive. And so Eric's, gets behind the wheel, and he gets out there on the wakeboard, y'all. And he's just doing all these sick, amazing tricks, like going off the wake, huge air, doing flips and backflips, all kinds of turns, and throwing all these tricks. And we're all just like videoing with our phones because we're like, can't believe that anybody can even do that stuff. And then he gets in the boat, and it's Eric's turn. Eric's really good too, so he's doing stuff. He's not as good as Frog, but he's going big air too and throwing all these cool tricks. They get back in the boat, and they're like, Nate, you're up. I'm like, really? You want to wakeboard? I was like, not today. Like, y'all are crazy good. Like, what do you want to do, Nate? I was like, you want to maybe ski? I was like, I can ski, but not today. They're like, what do you want to do, Nate? I was like, I want to ride the tube. Because anybody can do that. I mean, anybody can just hang on. I mean, come on. You got Velcro. I mean, just go. And they're like looking at me like, you're such a punk. And they're like blowing up the tube. It's all this hassle. And I'm trying to put my life jacket on. I can't get like the last strap to even fasten. And they're like laughing at me because some of y'all got abs of steel. I got abs of meals. Like it's a genuine struggle. I'm not going to lie. I love Mexican food so much. But I can't get it to fasten. And I'm trying to think in my mind, like, what could I do that would impress these guys? Or there's no way I can do that wakeboard and stuff. But what could I do? And I'm thinking back to, like, when I was younger, like, maybe I could do that trick I did at camp. And I used to do this trick on a tube. We would go out, like, a bunch of guys, and we'd have 3 tubes behind the boat. And we would just say, like, whoever's still alive wins. And we would jump on each other's tubes and just throw each other off and wrestle like while we're going 40 miles an hour across the lakes. Well, I used to do this trick where I could barrel roll, like on a turn, I could like roll it all the way over. And I was like, wonder if I can still do that. And Frog starts laughing. He's like, dude, you can't roll that tube. He heard me say it. And I was like, yeah, dude, I could do it when I was in college. He goes, there's no way you roll that tube. He goes, I bet you Outback Steakhouse tonight that you can't roll that tube. All you have to say is steak, and I'm going to try it. Like, if there's a chance. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to go for it. So he takes the tube out behind the boat. I swim out there. I climb on the tube. Takes me like 30 minutes. And then he drops the, like, thumbs up means go, so I give him the, he drops the throttle all the way down. I might have peed just a little bit. That boat was so fast, y'all. It was like, you get going, and I'm just like flying across this lake, and we're on Lake Wiley in Charlotte. But he takes that first turn, and y'all been behind a boat, like you kind of go out one side, and you dip over the wake. It's not a big deal. Second turn can be a big deal if your boat's that fast. He cuts it real hard, so there's all this slack in the line. And then when the rope finally catches up with the boat, it just jerks my whole body back. Like, thank you for the whiplash, Frog. And my neck just like flies back, hit the wake, And dude, I actually got airborne. And like literally, like birds are flying by. Like, what are you doing? And I landed so hard on the other side of the. I've never had that happen on a tube in my life. I hit the other side, and the tube's already like on one side, and I'm upside down underneath it. And fish are like, "What is going on? Are you dumb?" And I just pull. I don't know how it happened. I don't understand physics. I don't like math or spiders. But I pull, and somehow in that moment, I rolled the tube. I barrel rolled it right there in front of my boys. And they're all like, and Frog stopped the boat. He's like, "No way." He's like pushing the guy aside. What? And I just start pumping my fists like I'm on my knees on the tube. I'm like, "Let's go out back tonight." I didn't realize it, but while I was underneath the tube, I lost my trunks. Can I just be real with y'all, Nebo? Come on. There is nothing more awkward than climbing in a boat with 4 dudes. And you're the dude that's naked. How many of y'all like a good story? Anybody? Come on. Let's do this. Best story ever. You ready? Luke 5. So good. Once upon a time, it actually says on one occasion, in verse 1, while the crowd was pressing in around Jesus to hear the word of God, he was standing by the lake of Galilee. So we're going back 2,000 years. We're on a lake, no motorboats, just like regular boats. They're all wanting to hear what he has to say. Like it's packed house. Like they're outside, amphitheater style. He's on the shore. There's this beautiful lake behind him. The Golan Heights are there. The cliffs it's just a stunning place. If you've never been to Israel, but just take my word for it, man. It is beautiful there. And you can see all these people. I can picture it. They're all like crowded in. Like, what's he going to say this time? Because Jesus spoke. He said radical things. Radical things. He took the 10 commandments and shrunk them into 2. Because really the first 4 commandments are all about loving God, and the last 6 are about loving each other. And he said love God and love people. That's the greatest commandment. That's the number one thing you can do with your life. Love God and love others. He said radical things, man. And people would come by the thousands just to hear him talk, because he was no ordinary rabbi. They gather in around him, and check this out. He saw 2 boats by the lake left by fishermen who had left their boats there because they were washing their nets. And don't you know these boys are within earshot of Jesus? Don't you know they want to hear what he has to say too? They're just off the side cleaning out their nets. And here's what happens. Getting into one of the boats, he just assumes it. He just gets into one of the boats, the one that belonged to Simon. And he asked, would you put out just a little bit from shore? And I can see the reasons behind this. I mean, he basically wants to, I mean, they're all crowding in around him. He wants to have a, kind of like right here, we got this elevated platform so everybody can see who's speaking on stage. Everybody can hear you. I mean, I have a microphone, but Jesus didn't need a microphone because he had the acoustics of the water, which he had invented, millennia before. And all this water's carrying his voice to the people. Now they can see him better. They can hear him better. And he's teaching them from the boat. If you keep reading, here's what it says. I like this part. When he had finished speaking, verse 4, he said to Simon, let's take this boat out to the deep water and let your nets down for a catch. And Simon said, Master, we've been busting tail all night. I got a different version than yours, probably. We've been busting tail all night. We ain't caught nothing. But I tell you what, because you say so, we'll do it. We'll let the nets down for a catch. Just curious, how many of you have like a real job? Like you don't work at a church or something like that? Okay, you got real jobs. Who's got a real job? Jeremy, you got a real job. I knew that. Who else? Anybody got a real job? Give me a grown man right here. Tell me your name.
Greg.
Greg, what do you do for a living?
I'm a landscaper.
You're a landscaper. That's a real job. That's hard work, isn't it? Suppose Bob Ritter shows up to your house that you're fixing up and begins to tell you and your fellow workers how to do your job. How would you feel about that?
Don't know.
Oh, you can be honest. This is church.
Okay. I'll tell him to go sit somewhere.
He said, I tell him to just go sit somewhere. So good. I've never seen your house. You have a good landscaping area? No, it's terrible. You have a nice house. If you told me how to landscape, I might say yes, sir. I might let you do it for me, actually. That would be. But I'm telling you, like, it's awkward, right? Like, for a dude to, number one, just sort of go get in your boat. Like, what's he doing, man? He thinks he's pretty cool stuff. You just jump in my boat like that. Like, if you had a car, some of you guys have cars, teenagers, car? Anybody got a car? Raise your hand if you really have a car, like, for real. So maybe a few of you. Some of your parents are smart and they haven't given you anything yet. But somebody goes and just gets in your car. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, say it's your youth pastor, it's me, whatever, just get in your car. You'd be like, why are you in my car? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's jacked up. He's in his boat, and he just sort of, takes ownership. I'm getting this boat. Hey, buddy, can you put this out a little bit? Just put it out first. Dude, you didn't even, okay, sure. And he does it. And then he goes a step further. Jesus says, we should go fishing right now. Let's do it. Let's go fishing. And what he said there is very indicative of their area. Check this out. Like, we've been working hard all night. So Jesus, it's the wrong time to fish. When did they fish? They fished at night. Because that's when the fish were more active. And this is their business. Like, this is like their livelihood. Like, this is what they do for a living. This is what their daddies taught them how to do. We've been working hard all night. It's the wrong time. But check it out. It's also the wrong place. Jesus said, put it out in the deep water. Simon's buddies are over there busting out laughing. They're like, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know anything about fish. What they didn't realize is that he knows everything about fish. Dude invented fish. Like, he made fish. Like, what are you thinking? Like, they don't know that, though. They're like, okay, well, you said so. We don't want to offend you. You're the rabbi. We'll do what you say. And what happens is amazing. It's just amazing. I want you to, in your mind, as I read this, just picture this in your mind. Even if you've heard this story before, even if you know this story really, really well, just imagine you're in the boat with Jesus when this happens. Just try. I dare you. And when they did what Jesus said, they caught a large number of fish. So many fish that their nets began to break. They signaled their partners on shore to bring the other boat. And they came and filled both boats so full that on their way back to shore, the boats were beginning to sink. So when I read, I think in pictures. Like, that's just who I am. I don't know. That's just the way my mind works. I'm like, what's that like? To be in a daggum boat in the deep water where you think this is a joke. This is the dumbest thing we could be doing. We're wasting our time. We're going to have to clean our nets again. And then out of nowhere, dude, like some psycho fish just jumps in your net. He's like, woohoo! And just flops down. And then another fish is like, I can do better. And he just up over into the boat. Like, just lands in the boat. Like this is nuts. Like, you're a fish that day. Just do that with me for a second. I know that's mega weird. Like, to imagine you're a fish. But you've got like a girlfriend, fish. Y'all make fish together. You have eggs and all that stuff. And then, like, your girlfriend comes up to you, your wife fish, whatever, and she's like, hey, boy, let's go commit suicide today. You want to? Like, let's go die right now. Like, let's go swim towards those nets. And you're like, okay, baby, anything for you. What are you talking about? You don't do that. Fish don't swim towards nets. Have y'all seen Finding Nemo? They're trying to get out of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's jacked up. What are you doing? And then all of a sudden, all your other buddy fish are like, yeah, let's go get cooked up by some Hebrews today. Y'all want to? And they're all just swimming towards nets. All your friends, all your family are just like, woo! And just going for it. That's nuts. That doesn't make any sense, man. And for these boys who've been like doing this fishing thing their whole life, they're all just like, what is going on? Actually, what happened in this moment is nuts. It says Simon, he fell on his knees. I don't know if this was in the boat or on the shore or what. He fell on his knees at Jesus' knees. His eyes are level with him. He can't even look up at him. And he said, go away from me, Lord, I'm a sinful man. Well, a lot of people don't know what I didn't know. Honestly, like studying the Bible, I got saved when I was 17. I don't know if y'all know my story. Some of you may know like what happened to me. My dad stopped loving my mom when I was 10, and we go see my dad on weekends. It's supposed to be every other weekend, turned into like once a month. By the time I was 13, it was like birthdays and holidays. I see my dad like 3 or 4 times a year. And the times I'd see him, he'd just get real angry, and a lot of times he'd just beat us. Like he just hit us, sometimes with his fists, sometimes with tools. One time, my 13th birthday, he put my head through a wall. I blacked out, woke up in the back of the truck. He was driving me back to my mom. Like a deer we'd shot in the woods, he just threw me in the truck. And I made a point that day. I was like, I don't care if I ever see him again. And so I got saved at this camp. And that's one of the reasons we do Journey Camp, is because like I was one of those kids, man, really far from God. I didn't have anybody in my life who was a man who really cared until a youth pastor came to my house. This dude was mega weird, like Roger. And he just like loved me, man. Like he challenged my brother to one-on-one basketball, and like my little brother ain't little. He's like 6'7". This dude was like 5'11", and I walk outside and they're playing one-on-one, and the youth pastor wants to bet, and I'm like, youth pastor gambles? That's weird. He's like, no, when I beat you, he said that to my brother. He said, when I beat you, you got to come to church on Wednesday night and check out the youth group. See, we went to church, but we never like got involved with youth stuff because we were always too busy. We really just went to church to kind of check off the box so mom would be happy, you know. And my brother's like, he didn't really want to go to church. My brother was like, well, what do I get if I win? And Greg was like, what do you want? And my brother was getting ready to wash his car. I know y'all up here in Nebo, y'all probably do some four-wheeling, some mud riding. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Y'all been in the mud and get a little mud on your tires? I recommend it, highly recommend it. Do it before you die. If you've never done it, it's really fun. Just not in a Toyota Corolla, okay? My brother got stuck, and like his car was like just trashed. He was like, when I beat you, youth pastor, you can wash my car, and I'm going to watch. And they're like, all right, let's play. That dude beat my brother a game to 16 by ones and twos. He beat my brother 16-3. Like just throttled him. He was like white Steph Curry. Like he was just throwing up shots. Like he'd be like, this one's for Jesus. And it would just go in. I was like, what is going on? I was making fun of my brother. I was like, you're going to church. It was great. But man, I got invited to this camp. I heard that girls would be there, so I went. And in the middle of the night, the third night, I just stood up and went forward, fell on my face, gave my life to Jesus. And I ain't never been the same. Never been the same. A lot of people don't know this, but like those boys in that boat, they were teenagers. Most of them were teenagers. Some people are like, Nate, how do you know how old they are? Like it never says it in the Bible. It only says Jesus' age one time when he was 12 years old at the temple, right? It doesn't say how old they are. How do you know? Well, there's this moment in Matthew 17, and Jesus is in this ministry. He's got all these boys with him, 12 disciples, right? Most people don't think that, you see the pictures like they're old-looking dudes with beards, but most people don't know they were young, man. These were young dudes. They were fishermen. Like 4 of them had a fishing business. This is where it all started, right here. And he calls them. You're about to see. I'll read that part in a second. But a lot of y'all know the story, how it ends. But here's the deal. Like Peter walks up to Jesus and said, hey, all these guys are giving me a hard time, Jesus. Like these religious dudes. And they're like, Jesus like, what are they saying? He said, we got to pay the taxes. And Jesus like, we don't really have to pay that tax, but let's not offend them. Let's go ahead and pay it. And Simon Peter, he's like, Jesus, we ain't got no money. Like, we're broke as a joke. Son of Man had no place to lay his head. He'd just go from place to place, right? And Jesus says, all right, why don't you go down, grab a pole. I want you to go back to the lake, catch a fish, throw it in. First fish you catch, go pay the tax. There'll be a coin in the mouth of that fish. How many of y'all fish again? I'm just curious. Anybody fish, really? Keep your hand up if you would fish, if you knew that the fish that you caught would have a $100 bill in the mouth, every fish that you caught. I'm in. Now I'm doing that. Like, let's go all day. Woo-hoo! You know, it's going to be a great day. He finds the fish. He throws the line in. In the fish's mouth is a 4 drachma coin. The tax they were supposed to pay is a 2 drachma tax. And it just so happens to be that tax. Y'all stay with me. If you're with me, say yep. That tax, check it out. That tax is a temple tax. 2 drachma tax for any man who's 20 years old or older is required to pay this tax to keep up the temple. 2 drachma tax, about a 1 week's wages for most Jewish dudes. He finds a 4 drachma coin in the fish's mouth, which is enough to pay how many people's taxes? Very simple, right? 2 plus 2. What about the other boys? What if they were under the age of 20 and therefore exempt from the temple tax? So you know something? You want to be like Jesus? Hang out with teenagers, man. And if you don't hang out with teenagers, if you don't mentor teenagers, you're not like Jesus. No, that's real. That's real. That was his ministry, man. It wasn't how many people he could get to show up in the crowd that day. Because I'm telling you right now, he could say, y'all, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to throw lightning today. And everybody would have come out. But he didn't show up throwing lightning. People came out by the thousands to hear him speak. But that wasn't his main focus. You know what his main focus was? It was mentoring. It was discipleship. It was pouring his life into other people. Y'all know, like all the little kids at church, they just be following y'all around like puppies. They want to see what y'all going to do with your life. They want to be just like y'all. And that's what's so cool about, I think, church opportunity for y'all as ministry. Man, hanging out with little kids. Some of y'all are like, man, those kids are annoying me. They're demon-possessed, some of them. You know, like I don't even want to be around. But no, like, what an awesome opportunity for you. You could start mentoring even now. And some of y'all might be like, man, I don't have a mentor. How would I even do that? Well, that's on y'all. That's on us as men and women. We got to be intentional. We got to say, you know what? I'm not just going to mentor my kids. I'm going to mentor a few other kids. I'm going to get plugged in to youth ministry. I'm going to get plugged into school. I'm going to find a way to mentor kids. How do you do that? Man, I tell you how one of my favorite dudes on earth mentored me. He took me in the woods, taught me how to hunt. Got me my first deer. Dude, I was so excited. That deer was like, it was like a little dinky little deer. Like, shouldn't have even shot him. But I did, and it felt great. He got me my first deer, man. Taught me how to hunt, taught me how to shoot, taught me how to fish. He was a mentor for me, and I was in my 20s, man. My dad never took me, maybe 3 times. I don't know, man. I don't know what your life's like, but if you're not hanging out with kids, you're not like Jesus. You're not like Jesus unless you love him. That's who he was. We were thinking about like how do we tackle this morning, like this Sunday, and like what do we want it to be like? And Bob had asked me through Roger to challenge parents and how do we take kids to the next level spiritually, like after camp, and we come back and we're all fired up about Jesus. And believe me, I was all fired up about Jesus. As soon as camp was over, we had 1,500 kids at camp this summer. We baptized like 60 kids a week. Kids were getting saved left and right. Like it was like one of the best years at camp we've ever had, dude. It was awesome. We were all so excited. We got home. We slept for like 3 days. Like it was exhausting. Like we were tired, right? And then you wake up after 3 days and you're like, man, you start to feel like depressed and down and bummed out. Like just like everybody else. They get back from camp, you're tired. And then what happens when you're tired? Like, dude, you get attacked by the enemy like crazy. That's when he comes for us, when we're exhausted, right? When we're at our lowest, when we're weak. And he comes at us and he hits us hard with temptation. Next thing you know, you're home from camp and your little brother, little sister messes up something in your room and you just want to introduce them to the ceiling fan. Like you're just so mad at that kid. You're like, why you got to do that to my room while I was gone? And we do things that we shouldn't do and we say things that we shouldn't say. And we're like, man, I just made all these promises to God and now I'm a failure. I Like I let him down. I failed. So how do we do it? Like as parents, as mentors, as people here, and how do we do this? How do we carry this out, like through everyday life? Like how do we walk with Jesus? Well, what happens in this story is really cool. And some of y'all know it. I just want to read it again. Jesus picked Peter up, by the way. He said, "Go away from me, Lord. I'm a sinful man. Like, I don't deserve this. Like, I doubted you. Like, I don't even know why I'm in the same boat with you. You talk to fish. Like, I don't belong with you." They were all astonished at the number of fish they caught. So were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, partners of Simon and Andrew. And Jesus looked at Simon. He said, "Don't be afraid, because from now on you'll catch men." And when they brought their boats to shore, my Bible says, verse 11, I love this verse, it says they left everything to follow Jesus. We all have like different priorities, right? Like we all have like things that are important to us. Some of us is getting the corn out because we know the deer will be moving and we know hunting season's in and we want to get a big buck because we got him on camera and we want to smack him down and show a big trophy in our house because we got that buck. And we spend a lot of time doing it, man, like I do. I got 3 cameras out right now. I got a 10-point on camera, a big wide 6 who should have probably got shot last year, but nobody got him. We got different priorities. Maybe it's making money. Maybe it's our job because we're good at it. And like, man, people recognize, man, that dude is really good at what he does. And maybe your priority is your kids. Like my mom, her top priority was us. Like she wanted us to have everything. Like she wanted us to be happy, and she wanted us to have stuff that other kids might not have. And so she worked 2 jobs, barely making ends meet. My dad helped some, but I mean, that was her thing. Like, it was us, man. She lived for us. She didn't remarry until we graduated high school. Whatever your priority is, man, like, what's amazing about Luke 5 is that they left everything to follow Jesus. Like, their priority at the time was their fishing business. And let's be honest, it wasn't really going that good because they had caught nothing the night before. And then this dude shows up, and they catch every fish in the daggum area. It's the largest catch they've ever taken. You can see them piled up high, pulling the nets out. All these fish, piles of fish. And they're looking at each other like, man, we just struck gold. Like, our business is good all of a sudden. We can feed our families and everybody else's family too. Like, we're hooked up. But that didn't matter to them, because of who was in the boat. They were like, that's Jesus, man. This dude's different than anybody else. He said, come and follow me. For a rabbi to choose a young Hebrew kid, for a rabbi to say, I'll mentor you. Dude, it meant everything to those guys, so much so that they left everything to follow him. Have you ever done that? Like, has there ever been a moment in your life where you're like, I don't care what anybody else thinks? Like, I'm just going to leave everything and trust Jesus. Does your business belong to Jesus? Does your billfold belong to Jesus? Does your time, the way you schedule your life, does it belong to Jesus? Is everything his, man? You know what I think about? I think this is a really cool verse, and I've preached it for years like that. I mean, we need to leave stuff behind. We need to give stuff up so we can follow Jesus. But you know what really hit me the other day was like, what if they didn't? You ever thought about that? But what if they didn't? Like, what if that day they just like kept fishing? They were like, that was really cool. You remember that time we caught all those fish with Jesus? They just kept fishing. You know what happens? They don't see Lazarus come out of the grave. You and I aren't here today if they don't leave everything behind. Seriously, like, church is not... Jesus built his church on these boys, these teenagers. He poured his life into these guys, and baby, we're not here today if it's not for these guys saying, I'm going to step out in faith. I'm going to trust God. I'm just going to leave everything here to follow you because you're worth it. What does that look like? I tell you what I think it looks like. We had a kid at camp. He was addicted to pornography. And he came up to me with his phone. And he said, I don't want it anymore. And I was like, what do you mean, man? Like, it was kind of a weird moment. Like, some kids, you don't really know what they're doing or what they're saying, but he had tears just streaming down his face. He says, I don't want it anymore. I said, I'm not taking your $800 phone. Like, this is, I mean, who knows how much his mom paid for it. I was like, I can't just take your phone. He was like, I don't want it anymore. And then he started to tell me, like, his story and how he started looking at different things on his phone, how embarrassed he was. He was so sad. And I said, man, I can't tell you what to do, but you might want to leave that behind. That kid, you know what he did? The last morning of camp, he stood in front of this huge waterfall. It's one of the tallest waterfalls in North America. It's at our camp. And I watched him. He was in tears. He just stood in front of the waterfall with his phone. And dude, he just chunked his phone into the waterfall. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It was like $900 just being flung into the waterfall. Like apple just flying through the air and just getting soaked, like it was destroyed. Like, I was like, man, that was awesome. I'm not encouraging all of you to go and throw your phones into waterfalls at all, or like run to Lake James and chunk your phone. But for that kid in that time, that was what God was telling him to do. And dude, I was like, yes. I was so fired up. I reached in my pocket for my phone, but I was like, my wife will kill me. They left everything, man. What does that look like? My dad, he was the one. Like, he was the one who taught us how to do all that stuff I was telling y'all about behind the boat. He got a roommate. After my mom, we left. He'd invite us up on weekends. His roommate was a cop, and this cop had a boat. Cop also had like a son. And his son was a very unattractive kid. He had a mullet, like 3 teeth. His name was Jason. And we basically would go out on the boat if the weather was good. And they taught me how to like kneeboard and wakeboard, all this stuff, man. It was like one of the best summers of my life. We go up, see Dad, eat really good, and just like go out on the water. And man, I remember this one day, Clemson. We were Clemson fans, still am. I'm born and raised down near Clemson. So we were on Hartwell, Lake Hartwell that day, and like there were like kickoffs at 12:30 or 12:15 or something like that. So we ended up like going out. It's a perfect day. We come back to the dock, and it was like 12 o'clock. And we're all looking around like, Dad, why are we going back in? Like, and they're like, son, game's getting ready to start. And like, I love football, but I'm like 12 years old. I'm like, man, I want to just be on the water. I just want to play. And Jason was there. He's like 14, and he's all mad. He's got his arms crossed. He was all like upset with his dad. Dad, why are we going in? This is stupid. And my little brother's 10, so he was just picking his nose. And so we were all like, what is going on? And they're like, we're going in. We'll watch the game. Come on, y'all need to eat too. Like, we all got to eat. And I was like, man, we all just sat in the boat. And we watched our dads get onto the dock and start to walk up towards the lake house. And we were all just pouting. And out of nowhere, Charlie turns around. That was the dude who owned the boat. He looked at his son, Jason. He said, hey, Jason. He reached into his pocket, and he pulled out the keys to the boat. He said, take the Smith boys out. Y'all have a good time. And he threw the keys across the dock into the boat. Jason was so shocked that his dad was giving him the keys that he put his hands up to catch the keys, but the keys bounced off his face. Like, he was just shocked. And they landed in his lap, and he looked at his dad. He's like, really, Dad? Really? Because he was only 14. And his dad was like, yeah, just be safe. He was like, of course, Dad. Y'all ever give your keys to a 14-year-old? It's your own fault. Like, you stupid. Very stupid. We pulled out of the cove. Like, we untied the boat. Thanks, Dad. We love y'all. Enjoy the game. We'll be back soon. We got out of the cove, and, man, we did what y'all wanted to do when you got your car. You know, we want to see how fast that thing will go. We dropped the throttle all the way down. Figured that boat would go about 39, 40 miles an hour. And we were having so much fun. We got the kneeboard out. We got the tubes out. Jason would drive. Me and my brother were having so much fun. And finally, I looked at the gas tank. We were getting close to E. I was like, Jason, we might want to head back to the house. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea, Nate. I was like, yeah, let's head back to the house. I said, but do me a favor, Jason. Let's break 40 miles an hour. How about that? And he goes, oh, yeah. So we dropped that throttle down, and my brother was in the front, and I was in the side seat. And I looked at Jason, and you can't hear anything because shh, the wind coming. I was like, tell me when you hit 40. He goes, 39, 40, 41, 42. I tightened the straps on my life jacket real tight. All three of them. And I looked at my buddy Jason, and I went like this. And I grabbed the side of the boat, and I jumped. And it was like I was flying. Everything was going slow, I was like, ah. And I hit the water, and it hurt really bad. They said I skipped 16 times just over the water. The life jacket actually broke off me. And I realized I was still alive. And so I swam over to it, and I just started to scream and pump my fist in the air like a barbarian. I was just like, Rah! They thought my leg had come off or something. So they whipped the boat around, and my brother's just in the front like, ah! Crying, and Jason comes up and moves him out of the way. He's like, Nate, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine. He looked at me, he goes, that was awesome. You know what I did? Jumped back in the boat, did it 3 more times. Jason saw how much fun I was having, so he let me drive so he could do it. My little brother wouldn't do it, so we just threw him in at about 35. But there's something really beautiful when you just quit worrying about what everybody else in the boat thinks and you just go for it. You put on a life jacket that is Jesus and you say, I'm going to trust you with all I got. I'm not going to tell you it's not going to hurt. But when you just jump and you say, I don't care what you think. I had a dad last week who told me he just asked his sons for their phone at 9 o'clock. He said at 9, they just bring me their phones. They don't want the temptation. I'm like, man, that's big. And you know what he said he did? He said he started leaving his phone out there too. He's got his alarm clock back beside his. When's the last time you've seen an alarm clock, We always use these stupid things. He said, I don't want my boys to be up late at night and have temptation. I don't want them to get texts from their friends who are going to ask them to do things. I got 2 daughters, man. My little girl gave me her phone. She just tears streaming down her face. Like, why didn't we do this sooner, My dad used to say nothing good happens after midnight. Nothing really good happens after 9, really. Like even the TV's bad, like nothing's good. Just talk, hang out, be a family, he said. It's been the best thing for our family. I don't know what you need to leave behind. Maybe today there's some habits you really want to change. Maybe there's some things about your family that you're not proud of. Maybe there's some things about your life that you wish were different. But I want to ask if you guys would, we're going to do some, we got a song, right? We got a song, got some music maybe. So you guys can come back up if you want. Take your time, hurry up. Let's do this. We're going to do a little music, and then here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If your family's here, and you know what, students, it might be good since you guys are all sitting together for you to take the initiative this morning and find your family if they're here. And I want you just to grab them by the hand or the face, whatever you got to do, and bring them down here. This will be our altar this morning. And maybe just spend some time as a family just praying. And maybe dads, you want to pray over your family. Maybe you all want to pray together. But I want to ask you guys, invite you guys seriously to think about this. Whether you're here with just your spouse or you got kids here or grandkids here, is to find each other and just spend some time here. The Word of God says they left everything to follow Him. Everything. They left it all behind. Maybe there's something you can leave behind today. Maybe there's some commitment to the Lord you want to offer. You want to say, God, I'm sorry for this. Will you help me with this? You could sit in your seat. You could watch everybody else do it. Or you could move right now. Find your families. And come forward here and pray. When's the last time you did that together? I think it'd be so awesome. So even if it's mega awkward, I want you to go ahead and move right now. Just stand up, move, find each other, and find a way. And if this area is too crowded, find a spot somewhere in the church where you can take a knee with your family and just pray together and love on each other. If you need to shed tears, do that together. Or you could just sit in your seat and watch. If you're here alone, if you're a single parent, you came by yourself, I'll be your family today because my family's not here. I'll just be sitting right here. If you want somebody to pray with, I'll be sitting right here in the front.
I wanna know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I wanna know you, Lord. I wanna know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I wanna know you, Lord. So I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I wanna know you, Lord. And I'm laying down all my religion. And I'm laying down. I wanna know you, Lord. I used to think that I could box you in, but I'm laying down. I wanna know you, Lord. And I used to think that I could box you in, but I'm laying down. I wanna know you, Lord. So I'm laying down all my religion, and I'm laying down. I wanna know you, Lord. And I'm laying down all my religion, and I'm laying down. I wanna know you, Lord. I wanna know you, Lord. And Lord, I've been told to be ashamed. And Lord, I've been told I don't measure up. And Lord, I've been told that I'm not good enough. But you're here with me. And I reach out and you find me in the dust. And you say no amount of untruth can separate us. And I reach out and you find me in the dust. And you say no amount of untruth can separate us. And I reach out and you find me in the dust. And you say no amount of untruths can separate